is a chiropractic physician living and working in my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. Simple, easy way to get started with Dr. Meyers. Make that first phone call for that first private, no-charge consultation. Call's office, set it up at area code 314-878-6868. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, John. How are you this morning?
Well, looking forward to another beautiful sunny spring day. How about yourself, sir?
Oh, same here. I was excited. I got some gardening done this past week, which was great between all the rain and sunshine that we get back and forth.
So do you have ornamental plants or edible plants or both?
Both, actually.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, that's in the back of our house, which is our garden, and then the pretty stuff up front.
Outstanding, outstanding. Well, Doctor, what direction do you want to take our discussion this morning, sir?
I really had a great conversation that we had last time about literally letting go of the fear component, but and talking about how the breath system works. And we really didn't get to talk about how fear works in the process as much as I would have liked to. So going back into that context would be really nice. So we think of fear as something bad a lot of times, whereas fear actually is one of those sensations that can actually drive us. It's not necessarily fear that's the part of us that we shouldn't be working with or not wanting. It's when we close ourselves off. And it's like if you feel something scary or you don't want to take that leap or that jump forward, and then instead of moving forward in it, you allow yourself to be paralyzed in the moment. And that paralyzation, what that does is that's what halts your breath. That's what shuts down your digestive system. That's what shuts down your endocrine system. That's what shuts down your brain function. If that stays in there long enough, that's what starts creating a fatigue in the body because your body's not moving. So it's in a paralyzed state in a position, a gravitational pull, a mindlessness lock, and a mind thought, and then that is what creates fatigue in your organ systems. That is what starts the inflammatory process that creates an acidic environment, the non-alkaline environment that your body wants for cancer-free, for anti-aging, for your joints to be moving, so you don't get arthritis, for digestive function to flow. When your body starts that inflammatory cascade and that fear paralysis starts that cortisol, I'm in fear, I'm in danger cascade, that's where all of our inflammatory processes, our whole systems start breaking down. And believe it or not, we stay in that state because what did we do to the system? We shut down. We closed off. And mainly, you shut down and close off at your heart center. Your body literally stops breathing. Well, what's your breathing apparatus? It's your diaphragm, mainly. Well, your heart sits right on top of the diaphragm. It's literally fascially connected and woven into the movements of that diaphragmatic breath that works with the energy center of the heart contracting, relaxing, and the waves of energy that leave the heart when it contracts, and when the wave of energy that comes back from the body when the heart's at rest to give the heart blood and oxygen and energy to open itself up even more to the experience that you're experiencing. That is what fear does overall.
Well, Doctor, gaining this knowledge will help people understand the consequences of fear and may possibly help people understand why they need to live a life where fear is not part of their life.
And so good. So that, exactly. It's the most important part is not that fear. I want to just be very clear because I like where you're going with this. It's not that fear doesn't have to be part of your life. The main thing is closing yourself off to an experience and shutting yourself down. That is what doesn't need to be part of your life.
Right.
Fear is a very motivating factor. It's when you shut yourself off and allow yourself to succumb to the paralyzing response of fear is when things get shut down, because that leads to the frustrations and the angers. And most importantly, it leads to the lack of self-care. And what I mean by self-care, and it was so funny, I was talking with one of my clients last night who had a really interesting thing happen to her. She was at an event where they were at one of the parks here in St. Louis with a bunch of people, and they were doing an exercise on trust and letting go and surrendering. And one of the members of the group was holding this large, very, very large stick, and was kind of just holding it up in the air, and the member wasn't paying attention to her surroundings and whipped the stick around to throw it down. Well, my client was in the path of that stick, and it literally whacked her right on the left side of her face, right across her eye, the bridge of her nose, and the side of her lip, giving her the biggest shiner you'd ever seen. It looked like Rocky Balboa smacked her in the face.
Right.
I mean, huge. She walked into my office. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a fun story. I can't wait to hear this one. She's like, oh, yeah, this is fun.
Right.
So anyways, she's a caregiver. She takes care of a lot of people. And she's gone and gotten acupuncture and massage, and she's obviously one of my clients, so she does go and get herself cared for. But she said it was the first time in her life, because when it happened, everybody in the group was caring for her. And here she was supposed to be at this event with learning trust, surrender, and then she gets whacked in the face. And the whole experiment for her was for people to care for her and to allow her to be cared for in what I called the real world. And when I said that, I'm like, so when was the last time in your life you had ever allowed people to care for you in the real world? She, like, and coming here doesn't count. She's like, so acupuncture doesn't count. No. She's like, so what about when I got into this depression state and my husband had to care for me? Like, well, let me ask you this. Did you allow him to care for you? She's like, and she thought about it for a second. She's like, no. I'm like, so? When was the last time that you actually allowed people to care for you? Because when she was at this forest area at the park, and this happened, she said it was really interesting. I literally had to let go and let people tend to me. And be okay with it, even though I didn't like it. But she said I allowed myself to really allow the group to tend to me, tend to my needs, tend to what I needed, as I also participated in the rest of the exercises, even though I was lying on the ground with a ice pack over my face.
Right.
And I'm like, when was the last time you had anybody do that? She's like, never. Oh. I'm like, so this was a new experience for you? She's like, yes. I'm like, well, there you go. New experience. A lot of people do not allow themselves be cared for by others. And especially, they do not allow themselves to actually self-care and care for their own self. And that requires you as a human being, open yourself up to a new experience. And I have to say, and it's very clear, especially, I'm going to leave children out of this conversation because, again, that's a whole different story.
Right.
But once you reach the age of about 22, that self-care, self-love consciousness construct is at that time our brains have hit full development. We've actually hit the full neocortical developmental stages of our entire brain and neurological system. Up to 22, we really don't have a full developing frontal cortex. So I'm leaving most of that out. Right around 22 is when we awaken to taking care of ourselves. Allowing is not just resting in front of the TV. And I had a conversation with somebody else. I'm just like, okay, you need to start practicing self-care, self-love. And in relaxing, he's like, well, what about, and I gave him some suggestions. He's like, oh, I don't do that. I'm like, well, okay. He's like, well, what do you do for relax? I just sit in front of the TV and relax on the couch and drink a beer. That's relaxation to me. I'm like, well, okay, well, you're in this spot that you're in now because of the lifestyle you've lived in the past. Obviously, that type of relaxation system doesn't work for you because you're still in this particular issue in the tissue that you called me for to help you with. And he's like, okay. He's like, so why doesn't sitting on the couch and watching TV work? I'm like, because your focus, your mind, is involved in the life stories of the people on the TV screen, and you're mirroring their reactions in your own body and completely disregarding what you are actually experiencing by you then turning your focus on yourself and seeing what's truly going on with you in the stillness of a present moment consciousness. And he's like, I have no idea what you just said. Like, okay, well, what I'm telling you is you need to start focusing on you and not on the people on the TV screen, not on everybody else, and then reacting according to what you're seeing everybody else do, whether it's on the TV, on the radio, in your everyday life, the family running around the house. You need to give yourself moments in your life that you are focusing on your breathing, on your thinking, on your emotions, and actually allowing yourself a state of relaxation to come into the body that is about you focusing on you and then caring for you. He's like, well, I don't do that. I'm like, I know. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
What did it take to finally get through to him, Doc?
Second visit, we'll find out.
Oh, okay. You're not there yet.
So, but the thing is, what I initially told him, visit one, I'm like, you need self-care. So why don't you go give yourself just an Epsom salt bath, light a candle, and put some nice music on? He's like, well, I'm a guy, I don't do that. I'm like, well, I'm a guy, and I do that. So what are you saying? Guys don't do that? He's like, no. I'm like, well, okay, so what are you saying? He's like, well, I don't do that. I'm like, well, why don't you do that? It's like, because it doesn't feel comfortable. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, well, okay, then that's where you're allowing your fear to paralyze you. It doesn't feel comfortable. That's fear. That's the paralyzing fear of not allowing yourself to experience something, even though it doesn't make sense, even though it's unfamiliar. These things make sense if you allow yourself to open yourself up to a new experience that is of self-care, self-love, self-understanding, self-awareness, so that you can then connect to everything else around you in an open state and not in a closed state.
Well, hopefully we'll get through to him completely in the next visit, Doc.
Well, hopefully. And so I want to talk about the next person, where fear and non-understanding and it doesn't make sense is a paralyzing nature. You have a person who came to me due to she had plantar fasciitis in both feet. So when you have plantar fasciitis or inflammation in the feet and pain in the bottom of your foot, on both sides, 99% of the time, it is a pelvic or low back problem.
Hold that thought, Doctor. We have a break. Call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You're looking at bowel. You're looking at anything in the low back. So looked at all that, cleaned up all the stuff. 2 visits later, she still has the issues. And I'm like, does it ever get better? She's like, no, it stays the same. Found that there's a vascular compromise in her legs. And I had asked this in the intake form, are you on any medications? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay. You have any organs removed? No. And any anti-birth control? No. Okay. And so then 2 visits later, I'm talking to her again. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Obviously, there's no disc problems. There's no herniations. There's no organs issues. It's not in the feet because we've checked that over 100 trillion times. Okay, something's not right here because my work works, and if you're not getting better, there's something else going on here. And I'm like, are you sure you're not any medications, nothing? You don't have any birth control? She's like, oh, yeah, I have an IUD. Like, okay. And so, like, how long have you had it? She's like, oh, about 5 years, about to come out. I'm like, when did you start getting this? You got this plantar fasciitis thing about a year ago, right? She's like, yeah. Basically, what started to happen, we're going to find out, and this is a lot of times what happens is these IUDs create inflammatory reactions in the body, and they can eventually accumulate over time and create havoc in the vascular compromise system and create inflammation or pain in the lower extremity. And she's just like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I understand it doesn't make sense, and this is what I'm getting at. Just because things doesn't make sense or it's not familiar to you, sometimes you have to think outside the box here. Look at what all this stuff's going on, and nothing's there. But then we still have your problem, so the only thing that's left is your IUD. And every girl that I've talked to that have gotten their IUDs out, after that, 90% of the inflammatory reactions that we're dealing with disappear, whether it be back pain, hip pain, adrenal issues, or any type of gut dysbiosis or bacterial overgrowth things. These IUDs really mess people up. And she's like, well, I don't want to get pregnant. Like, okay, I understand that. However, your chief complaint is more than likely coming from your IUD. And that's where fear also comes into play, is fear of getting pregnant, not wanting to, and then also closing your body off and then utilizing a substance to close yourself off even more. So there's the psychological that's really under the radar in the subconscious mind, whether it's a fear, no matter what you're thinking, it's a fear reaction. Plus, then you put a chemical substance into your body or a substance to make sure that you stay closed. And then you show up with an issue in the tissue, and you're wondering why you have this issue in the tissue. Oh, it can't be that I just don't want to get pregnant. Well, it's the whole cascade of the thought process that led you to the action step that's leading you to having no footing, i.e. pain in your feet. So there's a lot of things that happen when we live in fear. And the thing is, it's becoming very, very common and very self-evident. It's now a question I do ask every single female that walks into my office. I'm like, do you have an IUD? Or are you on birth control? most of the time, the answer is yeah with these things. And I understand not wanting to, knowing that you're not the type of person that should have kids, or you have already 3 or 2 or 1, and that's enough for you. I get that, and I understand that sex and relationship with your spouse is awesome. However, looking at the psychological, physiological, and biology of how the system works, one must really take in consideration with their own life. And I've had a couple clients that I've mentioned this to, and they're just like, oh, I still want the IUD. I'm like, I get it. So then when the XYZ things show up, just know you've made the choice to have the IUD in, and that's why you still have the thing that you're talking about.
Right.
You're like,
right.
Okay, I get it.
That's a good place to stop, Doctor. We got a break. Call number is 800-313
Americans, and yes, all of humanity.
43. Don't forget the factory-made fitted mattress pads. 800-592-9543. Visiting with Dr. Phil Meyers. There's a quick and easy, non-threatening way to get started with Dr. Meyers. Make that first phone call. Set up that first private, no-charge consultation at area code 314-878-6868. Doctor, when you lay it on the line there and let these women know that there's consequences for using the IUD, then it puts the ball in their court, doesn't it, Doctor?
It does. And like I said, I don't judge. And so I'm not here to say, well, you shouldn't have that. And this is like, okay, you came in here for XYZ issue, and we've ruled out everything, and here's where we're left off. Some women, they take it like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm getting this thing out ASAP, and they're on the phone with their primary that day, and I get a phone call a couple of days later. Oh my God, I feel amazing. Thank you so much.
Right.
And then others, they're just like, nope, I'm still going to have it. And it's funny, they always show up with that little bit of inflammatory reaction in their low back, their hips, their pelvis, their knees, and their feet, or their gut issue. And it's self-evident. These IUDs really mess up the physiology and biology of the body. They really do. But what it all comes down to is it came down to the choice from the psychology of the body. And it doesn't matter, I'm not just picking on IUDs, I'm just kind of giving an example of that when you make your decisions based upon the paralyzing fear reaction and then wonder why you're in the position that you're in with whatever inflammatory or acidic gut problem, heart problem, brain problem that you have, it's due to that paralyzing fear running your life over a period of time. Now, that can show up in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Eventually, though, it accumulates over time that your energy system can't sustain being in a non-movable state that long. It will show up as issues in your tissue. And it just does. Especially it leads into a lot of anger and liver problems. And our liver detoxifies. It helps sustain fat digestion and protein digestion and methylation. It helps helps your body then absorb B complexes in your digestive tract. It does so many things. Get rid of heavy metals and bacteria and fungus. There's so many things. And when you're living in fear and then into anger, it leads to these things. And then that leads into depression and a feeling of complete emptiness. And then that leads into addictions and to all these other types of things, whether that be addiction, be shopping, watching TV, laziness, sleeping, to sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The physiological reactions sometimes take a while for them to show up. Others show up real fast. The harder addictions, they show up quicker. The softer addictions, they show up, but they show up later. Well, either way, they show up. And they all came from a paralyzing fear into anger, into emptiness. And whether that showed up as palpitations on the heart with anxiety or over worry, OCD, AED, any other acronyms that you want to name out?
Right.
It comes from it all comes from what we hold in mind. And then the choices that we make on everything. We as human beings have the ability to be responsible for what we choose to do and don't do in our lives. And
let me simplify your statement. Let me simplify your statement. Life is two things: choices and the consequences of those choices.
That's one way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Well, doctor, when people make that first appointment, they're looking to, like you mentioned, with these low back issues, they're looking to resolve that, not having a clue there's a connection to something else, such as the IUD. But you see that all the time, don't you, doctor?
Oh yeah. So you think his bones don't do anything, muscles don't do anything, nerves don't do anything. Information does everything. And where's the information coming from? And this is funny. You learn this in neurology and neurology classes in school, and even though it's in the textbooks, pain does not come from the finger, or it doesn't come from the knee, or it doesn't come from the low back, or it doesn't come from the neck. The pain signal that's interpreted comes from within the neural network of the mind, and not from anywhere else. So where's the information? You might have pain in your finger at the same time, and people that have done really good meditation know this. I experience this really good. Anybody that's one of my clients that's listening has seen my thumb. I smashed it good on a ladder clamp about a month ago, and the pain that happened with that is like nailing my hand with a hammer. It hurt.
Oh yes.
And I literally stopped, took a very large deep breath, and got quiet and recognized who's feeling the pain. Is my thumb feeling the pain, or is my mind feeling the pain? And my mind is the one that felt the pain. And all of us are the same that way. And when I calmed down my mind and breathed into that, my thumb stopped hurting.
Amazing.
And
Absolutely
so
amazing.
that takes practice, that takes mindfulness, that takes connection. However, the pain is always in the mind. The suffering is in the mind. All of the things, all the thoughts and emotions and feelings that you have are in the mind body. And when you start connecting to that, things happen. The lady that had the black eye, we had her connect to that, and at the end of the session, she's like, I don't know what you did, but my eye doesn't hurt anymore. Like, she's touching her face all around this black eye, and she's like, and she's opening her mouth, and she's like, there's no pain. What did you do? I'm like, I didn't do anything. I helped you connect to your power source and got your mind to quiet down and your heart to open up. And she's like, you're amazing. I don't know how you did that. Like, again, I didn't do it. You did it.
Right.
I just helped facilitate that power in you. And she's just like, I don't know how you did that.
Right. Well, she couldn't quite wrap her brain around that, could she?
No, it's hard. And so, but at the same time, it's It's present. It's an experience. I'm like, and now you got to experience another thing. You're not just experiencing your life, helping others care for you. And now here you got to experience you tapping into your own energy, which is a reality that happens and can happen spontaneously, and you don't even know about it. And when you start tapping into how the energy moves your body, and the more you tap into the energy that moves your body, the more you feel your body move. It is a reality, and it's funny. People that have experienced what I'm talking about, anybody on the radio that hears that's our clients and knows exactly what I'm talking about can contest to this. But if you've never experienced your body moving and the energy moving it behind you, it just sounds esoteric.
That's right.
But it's an experience that you can have. That's like telling somebody that's never seen cars before, hey, I can put you into this machine that's going to take you 60 miles an hour, and we're going to get across town in 5 minutes. And they're just like, that's a 3-day walk.
Right.
But how do you do that? What is this machine that you talk about? It's the same concept.
Understood. Understood, Doctor.
Clear and cut.
Yep.
So there is a power in us. And here's the thing. We've all experienced it before. We just forgot. Who taught you to roll over, John, when you were a baby? Nobody.
Well, I don't know. I was going to say I don't know.
Nobody.
Did.
Who
Right.
taught you to crawl? Nobody. Who taught you to stand up? Nobody. What was it that got you to turn over, roll, crawl, stand up, and move? This is the energy that did it. It moves us. It works through our neural network of the physical body, and we call those the neonatal reflexes of all the different names. And that's what it utilizes to move us, but the reflexes themselves have nothing to do with you moving. It's the energy that does it. Your gas pedal does not move your car. You pushing onto the gas pedal moves your car.
Right.
So the reflexes don't move your body. It's the energy behind that moves the body. So it's not a nerve. All these reflexes, except for one of them, actually has a dissectable nerve. And that's the vagus nerve, which is controlled by the fear paralysis reflex. Aha, the fear paralysis reflex. When you're in fear, guess what? You lock down your fear paralysis reflex, and your whole vagus nerve that controls all your digestive function shuts down, and your heart function. Aha. But all the other ones, all the other reflexes have no dissectable pathway. You cannot dissect the palmar reflex. You cannot dissect the spinal gallant reflex. There is no dissectable thing, but it's all written in the research papers. We know it exists. But what moves it? The chi, the energy, the prana, whatever you want to call it in different cultures. We've all called it different names, but it's all the same stuff.
Right, right.
French, Italian, German, English, we all say hello, but we all say hello differently. Energy, chi, body function, spirit, it all moves us all in the same direction. When you learn to tap into that movement, that energy, you feel your body move, and you move, and it always will move you into the greatest, highest potential. And what I mean by that, the energy that moved you when you rolled over, that's to your highest and greatest potential. It moved you to crawl to your highest and greatest potential. It moved you to walk, to run, to skip, to jump to your highest and greatest potential. What eventually stopped you from getting to your highest and greatest potential? You. You stopped the movement by blocking it. And you block it through fear. And then you block it through anger. And you block it through emptiness. And you block it through resentment. And you block it through judgment. And you block it through blame. And you block it through punishment. Self-inflicted punishment or punishment upon others, which is then again is self-inflicted. Because that's just like trying to give poison to another person, expecting them to die. You drinking it and expecting them to die.
Exactly.
This energy is within us, always taking you to your highest and greatest potential. The only reason it doesn't is because of all that other mind energy. And that shows up physiologically, biologically, as inflammation, swelling, redness, tenderness, and pain, and your inflammatory processes and your acidic environments creating all the different dysbiotic problems and all the medical jargon that no one cares about, except that I'm in pain and I'm suffering and I want to get away from it all.
Exactly.
Help me, Doc.
Exactly. Would it be a fair statement, doctor, to say that the majority of people walk in your door initially because of a pain-related matter?
I'd say all of them.
Okay.
Everything's a pain-related issue. It's either a psychological pain because of depression. It's a physical pain of neck, low back, ankle, knee, elbow, wrist, shoulder. Pain's pain. And it's the system behind the pain that you want to look at. Now, sometimes, yeah, it might be we found a cyst growing in a lady's spinal cord, physically pushing on her nerve, creating radicular pain all up and down her leg. Now, all the mindfulness stuff wasn't going to help fix that problem right off the bat. We need to actually surgically remove that. It might have taken her going to the mountains of Tibet to maybe meditate her way out of that one.
Right.
However, we'll just take the day's processes, cholesterol issues, heart problems, diabetes, digestive problems, hormone issues, pains in the neck and back. There is a way to process your body out of it. Supplements help, but they only supplement the energy need to get you out of the fatigue into recovery so you can actually process your way out of the disease process that you're in. Not all the time do they fix the problem. And more than likely that they don't fix the problem because we never take the underlying fatigue out of the body. So pay attention to that, and also recognize if you're doing something and you're not getting the results you're wanting, you might want to start looking at your life in a little bit different way. And so fear, anger, emptiness, those are the key points today. Added from our show on Friday, giving yourself every hour 5 good breaths. Those 5 good breaths, they open you up. They allow you to focus on yourself, that self-love, that self-care. Start doing these little things. They'll make a huge difference in your life. If you don't do it, you're just going to, if you don't do something, nothing's going to change.
That's right. That's the first step is the most important one.
Absolutely. And again, what's that first step entail? Open yourself up to an experience that is not laced with paralytic fear. So that's why we do these consultations. I mean, we know there's fear out there. And the whole point of the consultation is to help you see if this is right for you, if this makes sense to you, if it's like, you know what, I want to take that leap. My friend always calls it drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right, right.
And so we understand people are in fear. So, because that's the nature of the beast. It's always fear. So that's why we do the consultations. That's why we do these radio shows. Education is great. Education without action leads to nothing, though. That's right. And we see that so much, don't we, Doctor? Mm-hmm. So that's good. I'm subject to it. John's subject to it. We're all subject to that. All the knowledge in the world is not going to get you anywhere. So paying attention to your action steps or lack thereof action steps, and you're wondering, why is this happening to me again? Why am I still stuck in this place? Why is nothing happening to me? How did this get here? The answer you have is look where you're not moving.
Doctor, thank you. We'll have you back Friday. Appreciate it.
Bye.
That's the end of this hour. Be back next hour with Leon Green. Stay tuned.